Check out carmarshal.com. The link is in the description. They help support us.
City fines landlord $2 million because they offered homeless and disabled veterans cheap rent. Dozens of poor and disabled veterans could soon be homeless thanks to a city's red tape war declaring their homes unfit because they don't have the proper paperwork. By Matt Agarist, February 12, 2018. San Francisco, CA. In the land of the free, government and law enforcement not only wage war on the poor and homeless through various unscrupulous means designed to extract revenue and attack the right to exist, but those who try to help the homeless by feeding, clothing, or sheltering them also face the wrath of the state. As the following case illustrates, even those who've laid down their lives for the state veterans and the ones who help them are now being targeted. Judy Wu, a landlord in San Francisco, has converted 12 properties she owns into 49 housing units over the last decade, which she and her husband, Trent Zhu, rent to homeless, low-income, and disabled veterans. Because they've split the units into much smaller ones, the couple is able to provide these veterans with very cheap housing. The contribution to society hasn't gone unnoticed by the city, however, who couldn't care less about the dozens of previously homeless veterans now off the streets thanks to the couple. According to Reason, Wu's problems stem from a zoning law, as the couple's property was only zoned for 15 dwellings. And in 2015, the city's planning department first became aware of the excess units, ordering her to obtain permits to dismantle many of them. In 2016, as she was working to bring her units into compliance, and while her tenants fought to preserve their homes, San Francisco City Attorney Dennis Herrera sued Wu, claiming that her unauthorized dwellings substantially endanger the health, welfare, and safety of individual tenants, the residents of the city and county of San Francisco. In reality, however, Wu's tenants love the affordable shelter provided to them through her setup. And, to illustrate just how vacuous and dishonest Herrera's claim of worrying about the health, welfare, and safety of the tenants is, this move by the government could leave dozens of poor and disabled veterans on the streets. Sadly, however, it appears that the state has won. Wu fought the lawsuit in a trial this week and was facing upwards of $8 million in fines for providing cheap rent to veterans. On Tuesday, she settled with the city. The basic reason for settling is it's too expensive to fight City Hall, said Ryan Patterson, an attorney that represented Wu, according to Reason. This will allow the owners to move forward and focus on legalizing these properties and working to ensure that as many of these veterans as possible can remain in their homes. According to Reason, the city's lawsuit notably came before the administrative process that would allow Wu to maintain her current units had run its course, and yesterday's settlement does nothing to settle their legal status. Since the ordeal began, Herrera and his pack of bureaucratic dog-ooters have painted Wu and her husband as slumlords exploiting the poor. Defendants' motive for flagrantly violating the law is simple: profit, reads the city's 2016 complaint against Wu. They rent out units to the most vulnerable members of our communities. As such, they have a guaranteed stream of income. However, her tenants who actually live in these homes disagree and describe a far different scenario. Judy Wu is offering veterans housed in these units a chance to rebuild their lives in a way that is respectful and humane to them, says Fred Bryant, a 79-year-old disabled veteran, and tenant of Wu's for the past 4 years, according to Reason. Whenever I needed help of any kind in the apartment, checking the smoke alarm or something, Bryant says, Judy Wu has been extremely responsive. Looking at the situation objectively and not through the eyes of the state, we see a couple using their property to provide affordable housing to those in need. Their tenants are there voluntarily and love it. The only people upset about this scenario have nothing to do with the property nor the people living on it, yet they are hell-bent on ruining the mutually beneficial arrangement because of some building code. The most infuriating part about these zoning standards is that Wu's homes have met the federal inspectors' biannual inspections over and over, according to Patterson. Bryant agrees, and according to Reason, he described both his unit and those of the other veterans Wu rents to as nice, remodeled units with all the amenities of a well-outfitted apartment. There are a lot of homeless veterans that Judy Wu helped. She's a good landlord as far as I'm concerned, John Brown Jr., another tenant of Wu's told the San Francisco Examiner in July of last year. Even the mayor in 2013, praised Wu for her efforts in providing shelter to homeless veterans. Sadly, this is of no concern to the bureaucrats who've devoted their careers to stifle free enterprise and mutually beneficial arrangements that help people. Now, dozens of veterans are worried about where they will be able to live. Although the city said they will allow for the veterans to find other homes before they kick them out of Wu's place, the fact remains they are still kicking them out of homes they actually enjoy living in. Also, finding affordable homes in San Francisco is no easy feat, so rest assured that many of these folks will likely end up right back on the streets. Bravo, government, bravo. Become a patron.
Does the government work for us or do we work for the government? Tonight, what if the Constitution no longer applied? What if the whole purpose of the Constitution was to limit the government? What if Congress's enumerated powers in the Constitution no longer limited Congress, but were actually used as a justification to extend Congress's authority over every realm of human life? What if the president, meant to be an equal to Congress, has instead become a democratically elected, term-limited monarch? What if the president assumed that everything he did was legal just because he's the president? What if he could interrupt your regularly scheduled radio and TV programming for a special message from him? What if he could declare war on his own? What if he could read your emails and your texts without a search warrant? What if he could kill you without warning? What if Supreme Court justices no longer looked to the Constitution to determine the constitutionality of a law, but rather simply to what justices who preceded them thought about it? What if the rights and principles guaranteed in the Constitution have been so distorted in the past 200 years as to be unrecognizable by the founders? What if the 50 states were no longer sovereign entities, equals to each other, and parents of the federal government they voluntarily constituted? What if the states were mere provinces of a totally nationalized and fully centralized government? What if the Constitution was amended stealthily, not by constitutional amendments duly ratified by the states, but by the constant and persistent expansion of the federal government's role in our lives? What if the federal government decided if its own powers were proper and constitutional? What if the Constitution were no longer the supreme law of the land? What if you needed a license from the government to speak, to assemble, or to protest against the government? What if the government didn't like what you planned to say, and so it didn't give you the license? What if the right to keep and bear arms only applied to the government? What if posse comitatus, the federal law that prohibits our military from occupying our streets, were no longer in effect? What if the government considered the military an adequate dispenser of domestic law enforcement? What if cops looked and acted like troops and you couldn't distinguish the military from the police? What if you were not secure in your person, in your papers, and in your property? What if federal agents could write their own search warrants in defiance of the Constitution? What if the government could decide when you were and were not entitled to a jury trial? What if the government could take your property whenever it wanted? What if the government could continue prosecuting you until it got the verdict it wanted? What if the government could force you to testify against yourself simply by labeling you a domestic terrorist? What if the government could torture you until you said what the government wanted to hear? What if people running for president actually supported torture? What if the government tortured your children to get to you? What if government judges and government lawyers intimidated juries into convicting the innocent? What if the government could send you to your death and your innocence meant nothing so long as the government's procedures were followed? What if America's prison population, the largest in the world, was a cruel and unusual way for a country to be free? What if half the prison population never harmed anyone but themselves? What if the people had no rights except those the government chose to let them have? What if the states had no rights except to do as the federal government commanded? What if our elected officials didn't really live among us, but instead all had their hearts and homes in Washington, D.C.? What if the government could strip you of your rights because of where your mother was when you were born? What if the income tax was unconstitutional? What if the states were convinced to give up their representation in Congress? What if the government tried to ban you from using a substance in your body that is older than the government itself? What if voting didn't mean anything anymore because both political parties stand for big government? What if the government could write any law, regulate any behavior, and tax any event? The Constitution be damned. What if the government was the reason we don't have a Constitution anymore? What if you could love your country but hate what the government has done to it? What if sometimes to love your country you had to alter or abolish the government? What if Jefferson was right? What if that government is best which governs least? What if I'm right? What if the government is wrong? What if it is dangerous to be right when the government is wrong? What if it is better to perish fighting for freedom than to live as a slave? What if freedom's greatest hour of danger is now?
County, this is Charlotte County COPWATCH, and I wanted to explain what fair use is. You can use pieces of news articles if you're doing it for news reporting, you have commentary, and you're doing it for education purposes. So that's what fair use is, as you can see right here. Another reason why I wanted to make this video is to let you know I have just joined with Patreon. A nice thing with Patreon, I make no money on YouTube. They took the money away years ago, and so this is another way to give, and it's a nice thing too because you can give monthly. You can give $1, $5, $10, whatever. I do 4 to 5 hours a day on trying to wake the sheeple up on how corrupt it is and different ways that you can fight the corruption. So Patreon is a way that you can do it, and then of course the old way is still there. Donate to Charlotte County COPWATCH with PayPal or credit card. So keep that in mind. 4 to 5 hours a day. I make no money, but the corruption happened to me and I'm sick of it, so I'm trying to wake people up. But my wife would love it if if we could get some help out there. There's 47,000 subscribers. Just think if each one of you subscribers just gave let's say actually yes, $1 a month. 47,000 subscribers gave $1 a month. That would be awesome. That's not going to happen. But anyways, that would be great if it did happen. But do the math in your head. Just think about it. Like I said, 4 to 5 hours a day. I get no money from YouTube. YouTube has gone nuts. You can't do anything anymore. They're taking the money away everywhere. So these are a couple different ways that you can still help out with all this time that I put in. And as you know, I'm in a special situation where at least I can do it. 4 to 5 hours a day. We have a cleaning company during the day. That's what allows me to do this, and we're debt free. So this is my hobby. I don't go fishing and all that other crap. I try to save the world. So help me out to make the wife happy, man. In fact, if you guys did give $1 a day, and there was 47,000 of you, and you did it, and each of you gave $1, and that was every month, oh my God, yes, I could quit. I could start suing them. Another idea too that we have is if I got some funds, we could actually contact everyone that has been ticketed and or arrested and put in jail and start sending them postcards to let them know we're here, and to see if everything went all right, and if it didn't, find out their story. So we could even do more investigations and more lawsuits. Lawsuits take money. So just think about that. 47,000 of you so far right now. $1 a day. $1 a month on Patreon, or $5 a month Patreon, 10, 20, whatever. Just do the math in your head, help out. This is a lot of work every single day. Thanks.